Hey, everybody, welcome to the podcast. Today, I want to read a couple of notes that have come in from two different people, one from Ottawa, which is in Canada, another one from New Zealand, the exotic, sunny, subtropical New Zealand. And they have to do with one of the downloads that's been available. I don't know if you guys have been listening for a while. You know that I uploaded a bunch of new free downloads. Well, the one of the ones that's a big takeoff hit, there's been a couple that have outstripped everything else, but one of the ones at the head of the pack is this I want a raise script and system. How as an owner do you deal with it when people say I want a raise? So I put a script and a system together that has proven to be a very popular download. So today we're going to talk about it a little bit more. And then if you want that document as well for yourself, you can grab it. Anyways, let's get to the episode. We'll see you on the other side. Hey, everybody. I wanted to give you an update. I don't do this enough. I get emails or text messages from you. I appreciate them. I actually love seeing them. I just got off the phone with William a second ago, and he was giving me some feedback on the changes he's made in his business, but I don't really read the emails you guys send me. But I've got two messages here that I wanted to share with you, and they have to do with the script that I was sharing. You probably heard about this, the I want a raise script and system. Well, I didn't know I was going to hit a nerve. That one is getting downloaded a lot. So here's a couple of messages I got back from people. Then I wanted to dig into it a little bit more, just so you had a chance to understand how to use this and put it in place in your business so you're ahead of the game. That's the goal here, right? You want to be ahead of the game, not behind the game. So I've got some notes here. If you're watching this as a video, you'll see me looking down. I just want to make sure I capture some things properly for you because I think that's important, especially for this. So I got a message from Bruce. Hey, Bruce. Bruce is in New Zealand. Bruce, you may not consider it, but we think that's very exotic. I love New Zealand, by the way. Beautiful place. I was able to backpack through there at one point during college. Bruce runs a lockout and tag out company. So it turns out he hired a father and son. So I guess I'm summarizing his email here because I don't want to read the whole thing, but he'd hired the dad and then he eventually hired the son. So here's what he says. The father is an okay employee. His son is a slacker. Haven't we heard that before? But I needed hands and bodies in trucks. He marched up to me Monday and demanded his 6-month raise. And, all of you listening have had this happen before where at the worst possible time, somebody comes up to you and demands a raise while you're standing in front of customers, project managers, GCs. Maybe they just walk into your office, and it doesn't seem that sometimes people understand the social graces of asking, "Hey, are you busy? Can I talk to you for a second?" They just march in, and obviously people are nervous asking for a raise, and I get that. But I want to talk to you about this system to help you get ahead of it so you don't find yourself caught off guard. Let me read you what I got here from Rupert from Ottawa. Now, Rupert does cabinets and renovations. So a lot of people that listen to this show do renovations or cabinets or renos, but he does both. Again, I'm summarizing something. We went back and forth a little bit by text here, but he went to check on a job site and he got there at lunchtime. A junior laborer he had given a compliment to the day before saw him and right in front of everybody else while they're all sitting there having lunch, asked for a raise right in front of everybody else. And so there's two situations. One guy in Ottawa, Canada, another guy down in New Zealand, pretty much the same situation. Somebody walks up to you out of the blue and says, "Hey, I want a raise. I deserve my raise right now." And that sets you and I up for failure. Frankly, it does nothing to drive the company forward. And the best option is I'm going to look bad as a leader. And if you've ever been in that situation, you should probably grab this system. It's just a free download. Text me and I'll send it to you. So here's the situation. We've just outlined what happened to Bruce. We've just outlined what happened to Rupert. Originally, this system came about because of another company, actually an architectural millwork company that I'd been working with. This happened to them. Somebody just walked right across the floor and in front of everybody else, and probably heard this story, said, "Hey, are you feeling generous today?" to the owner. And again, it puts you back on your heels. So the problem, we've got the situation identified. Here's the problem that it makes for us. And I just want to state it, even though you feel it. even though you already know what the problem is. It catches us off guard, right? None of us like surprises. And so we don't want surprises. So I want to talk to you about getting rid of those surprises so you can get ahead of the game every single chance you get, right? The other thing it does is it sets a precedent. And so what does that mean? It means that no matter what you do in that situation, now everybody else thinks that's the way to do it. I got to catch him off guard, or I got to pull him aside, or I got to just talk to him when I see him next. And that is never the right thing to do, because how many times are you busy and running from one thing to another, and you don't have time to deal with something new and fresh that just pops in your lap? We've got enough change orders and punch lists, or snag lists, as you call them down in the UK. Those are all issues that we have to deal with already. So I don't want to set the precedent that the way to talk to me is to catch me as I'm walking through the job site, walking through the office, walking in from lunch. Those aren't the right places to talk about this. There are the right places to do it. And so we put a simple system in place to help us manage that and do it properly. The other thing is that I set myself up for failure as the owner, as the leader. Or if you're not the one taking these discussions right now, whoever is, like your general manager, your production manager, your foreman, your site supers, if they're the ones who are making the decision, you're setting them up for failure. And so we need to give them a system so that they're not caught off guard, that we're not setting a precedent, and that we're not setting them up for failure, right? I have some notes here. When I set myself up for failure, here's what happens. If I say no to this person, let's use Bruce's situation where the son's already not a great employee. He said, I hired the dad's an okay employee, but the son is worse. He called him a slacker, right? That's probably a polite way of representing it. So if he says no to this kid, he's going to call me or you, what, at best. He's going to walk away from that conversation. He's going to say, what, Dominic's a real, and all that does is what? He's throwing, at the fan, and that sprays over everybody. And all because we didn't have a simple system to stop this before it ever happened again. That's the goal of this simple system. I want you to find ways to stop these problems before they ever appear, because we've got other things we need to chase that are more important. And you've heard me here talk about finding and fixing your 8 profit leaks. Well, this one comes down to the people and the systems and the operations, right? Now, the other thing that happens in the problem is that it sets me up for failure, because if I say no, he's going to, badmouth me as soon as we turn around, and it's not going to look good. If I say yes, everyone else sees that. And guess what? Now there's going to be a lineup. Well, I heard you're giving out raises, so I should ask. I've been meaning to ask anyways. So I just saw you give one to Jeremy. I'm making up the name Jeremy, by the way. I saw you gave one to Jeremy. It's my turn. I've been here 7 months. And, it's funny that people think 6 months and 7 months, suddenly they've got, journeyman status. But that's the situation. And I've just outlined the problem. Let me also outline one other thing. And I want to talk about rights and responsibilities for you and me as business. I'm a business owner just like you are. We have rights and we have responsibilities. It is my right to dictate what the raise is going to be and when that raise is going to happen. It's also my responsibility to give people raises and recognition for good work. It's my right to clearly define what it means to be a contributor on my team. It's my responsibility to clearly define what it means to be a contributor on my team. So if you're listening to this thinking, Dominic's got a really cool tool on how I never have to give a raise again, then please go back to the beginning of the episode and listen from the beginning. That's not what I'm saying at all. And you know this already. If you're listening to this show, if you're a forward-facing contractor, you know that having the right people pays for itself leaps and bounds. And most of the people that I've talked to here are proud to be the kind of leader that's creating jobs in the community. And as I've said before, we're putting turkeys on the table on Thanksgiving and Christmas gifts under the tree at Christmas time because of the work we bring in and the jobs we're creating that people have reliance in, right? But again, I just want to point that out. We have a combination of rights and responsibilities. Our people have rights and responsibilities as well. They have the right to know how they're being measured. They have the responsibility to meet those standards, right? So let's get into that a little bit. And again, if you want to see those standards, I've got a workbook for this. It's you guys have heard me talk about this before, but I'll repeat it. It's called the I Want to Raise System and Scripts. I can't make it any more plain than that. If you want your own copy, I'll give you the cell phone number. It's a different cell, by the way. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I changed my cell phone number so that I could, we get so many of these text requests for downloads. I had to do that. So text me at this new number, 315-903-7853. And in your message, all you have to say is, I want a raise. And then we know here which document you want to download. Okay, so we got the situation. We now know the problem, right? We get caught off guard. We've set the wrong precedent. I've set myself up for failure. What do I do? So as a result of all of this happening, I want you to picture yourself, and it's probably easy to do. There you are at your loading dock, or there you are at lunch break. What's going through your head as somebody marches up to you and demands a raise? Well, even myself with my crew, when I was running a painting business, and when I was running a renovation business, even when I ran that low voltage crew of subs, when I was working for the telephone company, I'm suddenly reactive. I'm caught off guard because I'm not prepared for the conversation. And I can't rely on just being clever to get through everything, because what's going to happen is I'm going to say something wrong, or I'm going to say something the wrong way. And I want to keep my team operating at its highest capacity. My job is to understand that my people are my tools. And by the way, you know who you are if you're listening. I got that sentiment from you. Thank you very much for that. You know who you are. My people are my tools, right? So if I don't have my tools sharp, if my tools aren't working properly, that's only going to reflect badly on me. So these questions that come up out of the blue when somebody comes up and asks for a raise in front of everybody else, or even privately, if I don't deal with it right, I'm breaking down the culture in my business, because there's not a level playing field, right? I'm reactive. It's also a leadership magnifying glass. And you guys know we don't need more of that. Our team is already looking at us. What did Dom do here? What did Dom do there? What did Dom say there? What does he really mean? What does he want? Why does he want that? Right? So it's a leadership magnifying glass. They want to see how I handle this crazy situation. Maybe they totally agree with me that, let's use Bruce's example again, the slacker son. Everybody know, look, a slacker doesn't hide. There's very few places to hide in our companies, right? Everybody knows he's a slacker, but they're going to look at me and go, I wonder how he's going to deal with this. And they're only going to support me so long until they realize I'm not worth supporting. So when I start to put systems in place, when I start to remove the unknowns, I can move through those much easier. And I don't have to deal with this problem. This is not a problem that needs to exist if you put a simple system in place, a simple system you can rely on, right? There is a situation here. A 6-month laborer just called me out and exposed a broken system. I need to go fix that, because again, going back to the problem, I've set myself up for failure. If I don't have the system, or even if you listen to this show and then don't do anything about it, okay, that's fine. It's your choice. It's your decision. But at least you know there's a solution out there, and you can always come back and get the download later. It's not going to go anywhere. But here's the need for you, is to get ahead of things. Get proactive. Stop being reactive. Reactive is never a good place, right? We're limited in our choices. We're limited in our decisions. And you guys have all seen this when you go to the supplier and there's only one type of a product you need. Even though it's not the ideal product, you're like, we'll make do. We'll fix it here. We'll have to do more of this or less of that, or change this. You're not in a good place. You don't have choice. And so when you're reactive, you don't have a lot of choices. When you're proactive, you've got all the choice in the world, and time is on your side. And that's what I want for you as a business coach. I want you to be proactive and in control in advance of your business. I want to show you how to run it on simple systems so that it's repeatable. So you can take a vacation and you don't have to worry about somebody catching you off guard. Here's the very, very simple system. I've broken it down into 6 parts for you. So if you happen to be at your desk, you can write these down. If you're walking the dog or on the treadmill or on the bike, listening through your headphones, don't do this if you're driving. Okay. Can we just agree? You're not going to do this while you're driving. Do not write these down. Just text me later. I'll send you the document. But here it is. First, you want to set up a simple process. Make the expectations clear. Remember earlier, I talked about I set myself up for failure because I didn't make clear expectations. I also talked about it when we talked about the rights and responsibilities that you and I have as leaders, as business owners. It doesn't matter whether you have 1 employee or 100 employees. We have a responsibility as a leader, right? And so I have to set up simple systems and make my expectations as clear as they can be. The raise, step number 2, the raise, getting a raise is on you to prove, not me. Isn't that interesting? Right now, I have to, if you don't have this system, somebody comes to me and asks for a raise, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? This guy's a good worker. He's been here 2 years, never asked for anything. It is time to give him a raise. Maybe he's expecting $3 and I'm expecting 75 cents. Why do I suddenly have to prove that? What if we had a system to remove all of those challenges, right? What if we got ahead of it and we were proactive so that the expectations were very clear, very, very clear. Now, some of you are saying, well, Dom, you don't understand. I've got 6 different people in my company and all 6 of them have a different job and a different job description. There's no way I could come up with a list of rules that would make any sense. And to you, I would say, well, hang on a second. You haven't seen the report yet. Or if you've downloaded it, please go back and read it again, because you'll see that the rules for operating have more to do with attitude and capacity than they do with being technically proficient at turning wrenches and swinging hammers. That's what you'll see when you download this. It's an interesting way of doing things that puts the responsibility on the person, on your employee, on your staff person, your crew, to meet the job standards. But it doesn't matter which job they have, because they all relate to attitude. They all relate to, their willingness to be part of the team. You'll see what I mean in the report. Like I said, so the raise then is on them to prove, not me. Now it's a self-test, and that self-test happens 1 time a year. You make that a rule. The self-test happens once a year. And if you want to, you can even go back and say how much a raise can be at any given time of the year. You can make it a percentage of salary to a maximum of this or that. There's lots of things you can do. And if you ever get stuck on that, I love having these conversations. Just give me a shout and we'll talk about it. There's nothing complicated here, right? So let me just repeat. Number 1, set up a simple system where you have expectations clear. Number 2, understand the raise is up to them to prove, not me. Number 3 is a self-test, and it's only going to happen once a year. That's the maximum you can do it. And that's the first time you can do it, right? The system is you fill out the report and you return it to the foreman. And then the foreman brings it to me. The foreman and I discuss it. And then the feedback to you happens after that. So nothing is instant. It goes through a process. Now, what's important about a process is you want everybody to understand that there is a process and it's not random, because you've heard this happen before on job crews, and you might have even been part of it when you were younger and more junior. Well, that guy got a raise because he's so-and-so's cousin. He lives next door, and sometimes he walks his dog. So of course they love him. What? I'd hate for that to be the situation in my company. Instead, you want raises based on merit. Because when you have a situation where people are compensated and rewarded for merit, then they know that merit, accomplishing what you set out to do, is more important than your last name, than who you're friends with, and if you go to church with them or once gave their uncle a ride somewhere. All these random things come up, but in a vacuum, people make up their own stories. When you have a simple system, there's no story to make up, right? I'm just checking my notes here. There's no story to make up. Again, if you want this report, just text me, I want to raise, at 315-903-7853. Let me reach you. I think I should share some examples of what's actually in the workbook. Remember, I was talking about, I want to talk about people's attitude. So here's the category headings that we're going to be showing people how to do a self-assessment in. So this is only a couple pages. How long is this report, this workbook? Sorry, the workbook's 7 pages. It's not that long. It's all done as a PDF, but you can easily convert it into a Word document for your own purposes. I've even got a little bit of a script in here. Here's the script. Hey, boss, I want a raise. That's the employee saying, hey, boss, I want a raise. And then you, as the owner, have you talked to the foreman about this yet? Now, there's only 2 possible answers, yes or no. If the answer is yes, okay, please go back to him and get the employee self-assessment. Once that's done, he'll bring it to me. If the answer is no, I'll say, okay, please go back to him and get the employee self-assessment. Once that's done, he'll bring it to me. Do you see what I did there? Is this script sets you up for the win. It neutralizes the problem. Remember when we talked about the problem? I get caught off guard. I set the precedent wrong, or I set myself up for failure. This simple system, and the script is right here, as long as you answer somewhat along the lines of, did you talk to the foreman yet? Did you get your report? You got to fill out the report. Even if you say it like that, goofy, you still said what you needed to say. And the person knows, oh, I forgot. Yeah, I've got to go fill in that report. I get the report from the foreman and then I fill it out. Okay. I don't know why I did that voice. You guys know I like to have fun, but I'm serious about what I do. So listen, the employee self-assessment questions come down to a couple of different categories, right? Attendance and punctuality. Well, that applies to your estimator, and it applies to your most junior laborer, and it applies to your, let's say you've got a CFO or a controller. Attendance and punctuality still applies, right? Thinking. What? Yeah, we've got a category here for thinking. Let me read it to you. Thinking is the category that they're going to score themselves on, right? This is the self-test we're going to ask them to put themselves through. Thinking. Subtitle, finding and evaluating information to make informed decisions or how to organize my work. Now, the next line says, I am confident in my ability to A, recognize and identify problems, B, work independently to resolve issues before asking for help, C, come to the foreman or lead with solutions, not problems, D, read plans and take action according to job specs on the plans, E, organize job tasks according to priority, or F, think about producing a project I am proud of. Okay, which one of those stood out to you the most? I wonder how many of you would love to have somebody who scored themselves on a scale of their ability to work independently to resolve issues before asking for help. It just opens up the opportunity. Now, let's say that you set it up as a system, and the system's here. We've got it set up so you do it as a score from 1 to 5, 1 being poor, 5 being strong. But you can use your own system. You can apply your own math to that. Let's say they scored themselves a 5. Fantastic, best in the world. They are excellent at working independently to resolve issues before asking help. But you look at that and you go, actually, you're a 1. Well, now we have an opportunity to say, tell me about a time that you worked independently. And they'll tell me a time. And I'll say, well, one of the challenges is that I remember a time when you didn't think independently, or we often find you at the foreman's desk, or we often find you with one of the senior people asking them questions, and it really takes away from that person's ability to do their job, right? And so now, because they score themselves and hand it back to you, and you've got time to think about it, you've overcome the problem of getting caught off guard, setting the wrong precedent, and being set up for failure, right? Let's read another one. I want to see reading drawings. So here's shopping. Let's do reading drawings as an example. That's another heading. There's a bunch of different headings in here. So reading drawings is another thing they're going to score themselves on. You might have to change this if it's office staff, but for most of us, we have a lot of people on the tools. Reading drawings, understanding the specifications of a project so I can build it with pride. Hey, here's something I haven't told you yet. When I put this system in place, I can't just put it in place for myself. I've got to tell everybody. I have to have a meeting, probably the toolbox talk or the Monday morning kickoff when you're talking to your crew, and you got to hand out pieces of paper to everybody and say, look, these are the ground rules for being on the team. This is how you're going to be assessed in the company. As a matter of fact, when it comes time to review your job performance, you don't have to say raise. When it comes time to review your job performance, we're going to hand you a form and we're going to let you assess yourself. It's a self-test that helps you understand how you're doing in your job. And you could tell us just by ticking a few boxes. So let me take you through the form now, folks. And they're like, oh, okay, well, that sounds interesting. Plus I could stand here and drink my coffee. Of course, I'll listen to you. And so you read through these things and you have it up on a board and everybody's got a piece in front of them, right? Oh, and you get to the reading drawings section. Here's what you'll hear. Understanding the specifications of a project so I can build it with pride. And then further says, I am confident in my ability to read blueprints, takeoffs, and job documentation to build the job properly with minimal supervision. That's now a rule in your company, that if you want to be recognized for great effort and you want to be recognized with extra compensation or extra responsibilities, you've got to be able to read blueprints, takeoffs, and job documentation to build the job properly with minimal supervision, right? It goes on to say, I'm confident in my ability to read policies and procedures when handling a problem at work. It goes on to say next, put the drawings back in the master copy rack after I've used them. Now, if you don't use a master copy rack, that's fine. But a lot of companies have one central place for drawings and documents. Follow cut procedures, follow install procedures, follow framing policy. Whatever you've got in your company that sets the standard for what you do, depending on your trade, it's a little different. But all of that comes under the heading of reading drawings. Now, I want to add, this has always been my take on things. I would rather take a document that's somebody else has written and make changes to make it my own instead of starting from scratch. Because starting from scratch take me 10, 20 hours. I don't even know where to start. How would I know what a good system is? How would I know how to finish it? How do I know it's going to work? If you use this system, you've already got 80% of the work done, and you've got to do 20% of tweaking because maybe you don't follow cut procedures from CAD drawings, or maybe you don't need to read blueprints and takeoffs because, like Bruce's crew, they're a lockout and tagout company. They don't need to read blueprints necessarily for that, maybe electrical schematics, but you can change it to your own language. Anyways, I hope you've appreciated this. And if you don't have this system in place in the company, just shoot me a note, just download the thing. It's really not difficult. I should say that there are a number of sections in here that might surprise you, including a section that shows you how to physically lay it out on the page so that it's a handout for your crew at a level they would be able to do it at their bench or in the truck, on a clipboard. It's not a huge report. It's pretty easy to do, but it puts you in a control position. It makes you proactive in your business. It shows professionalism, and it changes that situation where both Rupert and Bruce, by the way, I changed their names. You guys know that already, but Rupert and Bruce got caught off guard. Just plain got caught off guard. And when they went to download this system, of course, they used it to help themselves, right? So you don't want to get caught off guard. You don't want to set the wrong precedent. You certainly don't want to set yourself up for failure. If it happens to you in the next couple of days, okay, but let's stop that from happening again. And again, I've said this before, but shoot me a text. Again, there's a new cell phone number to get this. So text me, super simple. All you have to do is text me at the number 315-903-7853. And then just say, I want a raise. And then I know what document you're talking about because it's the only one called that, right? So text me at 315-903-7853 and say, I want a raise. And I'm not going to give you a raise, but I'm going to give you the system for dealing with the situation where people say, hey, boss, I want a raise and I want it now. And I'm not a very good worker anyway. And I want $3 an hour and I want to be vice president of something. And that's how millennials talk. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this. It is really an important piece of making sure you get your people working at their maximum without undercutting all the efforts you've done of building a great culture, building a great team, having simple systems like this. It's a nice way to tie things together. And if you don't have it, why not get it? It's just a free download. Now, and I should say, once you have it, and I send you the document, download it straight to your hard drive, save it, change the file name, do whatever you need. It's yours. Once I send it to you, it's yours. Take it, change it to your company name, give it to your office manager, your administrator, maybe somebody in your family, and have them tweak it for you. Make it a live document that makes sense for your construction or contracting company and how you do business. All right, folks, thanks for checking in. Well, thank you very much for taking part in this episode. I hope you got a lot from that. I mean, the pain of understanding that situation is really only something that a business owner can understand, especially those of us in construction. And these conversations happen at the most awkward times. We're trying to do a change order with a customer. We're having a tough conversation with a PM about a job that's going over budget, or they're complaining that we did something wrong on the commercial side and it was really another sub-trade. And that's when Jeremy comes up and asks for a raise. Anybody out there named Jeremy, I'm just talking about other Jeremys, not you. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you got a lot from it. If you have found yourself in that situation, you're simply not alone. I mean, we just heard from two different parts of the world, Bruce in New Zealand and Rupert in Ottawa, Canada. Couldn't be further apart, but the same situation happened. And then originally, when you've heard this from me before, was another shop somewhere else, right? So these things happen. It's happened to me in all of my companies. And if it's happening in all these places, I'm pretty sure it's happening for you as well. Anyways, just one more time, just shoot me a text if you want the document. Pretty easy download. What did I say? It's 7 pages, not that big. The cell phone number to text to ask for the document is 315-903-7853, and just say, Dom, I want a raise, and then I'll send you the document. All right, folks, stay tuned for the next segment. We'll get there. See you on the other side.